Have you ever wondered about the ethical boundaries of medical research? How far is too far in the pursuit of scientific knowledge? These questions resonate with a haunting chapter in the history of science and human rights, a chapter inked with the pain and suffering of those who were used as pawns in the name of advancement. This is the story of the Holmesburg, Philadelphia prison experiments, a dark tale that unfolded within the grim walls of Holmesburg Prison, Philadelphia, from 1951 to 1974. These experiments, conducted on vulnerable prisoners, predominantly of Black and Puerto Rican descent, not only violated the principles of medical ethics, but also trampled upon their human rights. The significance of this chapter in history is immense. It serves as a stark reminder of the depths humanity can sink to when blinded by ambition and devoid of empathy. It brings to light the importance of informed consent, the respect for human dignity, and the need for stringent regulations in medical research. Today, we delve into the chilling history of the Holmesburg, Philadelphia prison experiments. Let's journey together into this shadowy past, not to sensationalize the pain, but to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated, and that the voices of those who suffered are never forgotten. Picture this: Holmesburg Prison, Philadelphia, a place where inmates were more than just prisoners. A fortress of brick and iron, Holmesburg was home to a myriad of individuals, each with their own stories, dreams, and fears. Yet these men were predominantly African American and Puerto Rican, their lives marked by the harsh realities of poverty, lack of education, and the societal stigmas of the mid-20th century. Within these walls, they were not just inmates serving time, but also unsuspecting subjects in a series of covert medical experiments. A chilling alliance formed between the prison and the University of Pennsylvania, transforming the penitentiary into a clandestine laboratory. In the name of scientific progress, these men were exploited, their bodies and minds used as testing grounds for medical research. The prison's grim conditions, combined with the desperation of the inmates, created a perfect storm, an environment ripe for exploitation. Education about the experiments was sparse, consent was uninformed, and the promise of monetary compensation was a powerful motivator for many. But behind these walls, a darker story was unfolding. What happens when the pursuit of knowledge disregards the dignity of human life? This question takes us to the heart of the Holmesburg experiments, a dark chapter in the history of medical research. This was not just a case of pushing ethical boundaries, it was an outright violation of them. The inmates, many of whom were African American and Puerto Rican, were not just subjects in a study, they were exploited, their vulnerability preyed upon. The promise of a few extra dollars, the allure of a better life, was enough to make them sign up for these experiments, not knowing the consequences that awaited them. Informed consent, a cornerstone of ethical medical research, was notably absent. These men were not given a fair understanding of what they were signing up for. They were led to believe that the experiments were harmless, a misconception further fueled by the normalization of these experiments within the prison culture. This was a gross misuse of power, a blatant disregard for the rights of these individuals. In the name of science, these men became unwilling guinea pigs. They were reduced to mere test subjects, their humanity pushed aside for the sake of advancing medical knowledge. Before we continue, if you're finding this video informative and helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. We encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more insightful content like this. The line between medical research and malpractice was not just crossed, but erased. In the grim corridors of Holmesburg Prison, medical malpractice took on a horrifying form. Prisoners were subjected to harmful substances and invasive procedures, all in the name of progress. Injections of dioxin, exposure to radioactive isotopes, and tests involving carcinogenic substances were just a few of the unethical experiments conducted. The inmates, predominantly Black and Puerto Rican, were exploited for their vulnerabilities. Their desperate financial situations and limited education made them easy targets for these dehumanizing experiments. They were treated not as people, but as mere test subjects, their individual rights and well-being disregarded. The long-term physical and psychological effects on these inmates were profound. Many were left with debilitating health conditions, disfigurements, and deep mental scars. Others were left with a lingering sense of betrayal and mistrust towards institutions meant to protect them. The cost of this progress was paid in human suffering. The Holmesburg experiments stand as a stark reminder of the potential for abuse when medical ethics are cast aside. let us not forget the price paid by those who suffered under the guise of research. The Holmesburg experiments were not just unethical, but a gross violation of human rights. These heinous acts were a blatant disregard for the dignity and worth of every individual subjected to them. Vulnerable inmates, mostly Black and Puerto Rican, were treated as mere test subjects, stripped of their humanity. They were exposed to harmful substances, their bodies used as playgrounds for medical curiosity, all without their informed consent. The aftermath of these experiments was devastating. The physical and psychological scars left on these inmates are a haunting reminder of the inhumane treatment they endured. But the horror didn't end within the prison walls. The echoes of the experiments reverberated far and wide, shaking the foundations of medical ethics and human rights. The legal repercussions were complicated, hindered by the statute of limitations. But the fight for justice persists, led by tireless advocates like Alan M. Hornblum, who continue to demand accountability and public acknowledgement from those involved in the experiments. The echoes of Holmesburg still resonate in the halls of justice. Holmesburg is a stark reminder of the importance of ethics in medical research. The chilling past of these experiments underscores the necessity of respect for human dignity and consent in research. It's not merely a historical event to be shelved away, but a cautionary tale, a lesson in the paramount importance of ethical conduct. The Holmesburg Philadelphia prison experiments have left an indelible mark on modern medical research practices. Today we see stringent regulations and ethical standards that have been shaped in part by the bitter lessons learned from Holmesburg. It has reminded us of the potential for harm when we stray from the path of human rights and ethical responsibility. We have learned the hard way that the ends do not justify the means. Medical advancements achieved at the cost of human dignity and rights are a price too steep to pay. We have learned that each individual, regardless of their circumstances, deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. Holmesburg stands as a dark chapter in our history, a chapter we must never forget. It serves as a constant reminder of the vigilance we must maintain to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated in the name of medical progress. As we remember the victims of the Holmesburg Philadelphia prison experiments, we must also advocate for the protection of human rights in medical research. These experiments, carried out from the early 50s to the mid-70s, serve as a stark reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink in the pursuit of progress. Unethical, exploitative, and inhumane, these experiments violated every principle of medical ethics and human rights. The predominantly Black and Puerto Rican inmates of Holmesburg Prison were exploited in the most brutal ways, subjected to harmful procedures and substances without their informed consent. Their vulnerability was abused, their trust betrayed, and their rights trampled upon. Today we pledge to remember them, not as mere subjects in a cruel experiment but as humans who deserve dignity, respect, and justice. By remembering them, we affirm our commitment to ensuring that such atrocities are never repeated. We urge for stringent regulations and vigilance in medical research, for respect for human rights, and for the upholding of ethical standards. Let the lessons of Holmesburg serve as a beacon, guiding us towards a future where medical research respects and protects human dignity. As we conclude, we implore you not to let the memory of Holmesburg fade into oblivion. Share this video, spread the word, and help us ensure that the lessons of Holmesburg are never forgotten.